Hi friends, my name's Adrian, and in today's video I wanted to talk about the difference between coding when you're trying to do something very fast versus when you're trying to do something very perfectly. The difference between the two is something that I've battled with because as I was learning to code, there were a lot of principles that people implement, such as making sure that the syntax of your code and the structure and the variables are perfect, that they make sense and that they have inline documentation or maybe even is self-documenting. And there's other things as well, like doing tests properly and lots of other stuff that's really important to do perfect kind of coding. But then there's the other aspect, and this is the aspect where you might have to deliver on something very quickly. You might only have a short period to deliver a feature or create a website, and this is where you try to rush and try to complete it as quickly as possible. There's two different types of coding techniques, whether you're doing really fast or perfectly, are the things that I've had to experience on both sides of things. And for me personally, when I was learning, I found that I always wanted code to be perfect. I would spend that extra time trying to make sure that it has perfect indentation, all that little stuff. And what I found was that when I got into working, when I worked in freelancing, when I worked more in businesses, they didn't really care too much if the code was perfect. They were more focused on delivering a result. So what they would do is they would push you. They would push you to try and essentially complete your work as fast as possible. And I would be pushing back, thinking that I needed to get the work done perfectly. And this tug and this sort of battle between, doing it perfectly and doing it quickly was something that I noticed was causing me a lot of stress, because I thought that if I'm not doing it perfectly, then we're going to end up with bugs. It's going to be hard to go back and fix it. And while these things are correct, there is a balance to find between these two. And the balance is sort of, it's defined by you. It's defined by what you're willing to sacrifice, because if you're writing code perfectly for the sake of yourself, then in a way you're costing businesses money, you're costing yourself money when you're doing freelancing. Usually a MVP doesn't have to be perfect because it usually will have to be refactored later anyway. And when you're coding out a feature, it might be thrown away. For all you know, it might not even make it into production. It might be just something that they test out and throw away. And putting all that extra time and effort into having perfect code will really come back and bite you, because you'll have wasted all that time. At that same level, if you're spending extra time to code stuff perfectly, you're going to have better scoping and better reusability in the future. But if you're trying to do it quickly, if you're trying to smash out code and it looks like spaghetti, but it gets the job done, and you have to build out more things in the future, maybe you might have to build out more features, and because you've rushed the code, it might not be reusable in the future. You might have to start from scratch. So then you have to really consider what kind of work you're doing and whether it's something that you'll need to work with in the future or not. And you'll have to play that balancing act. You have to really figure out where the sweet spot is to be able to have good code, but also produced fast. And it's finding that right balance that will help you be more productive and efficient when you're doing freelancing or whether you're doing business related stuff, because you don't want to have perfect code, but you don't want to go as quickly as possible either. And finding that balance is also finding the balance that you're happy with. Once you find that, you'll be able to code a lot better. So I think that one of my pieces of advice to you guys is, if you're starting out, and I know you're probably trying to do things perfectly, also figure out how fast you can do them if you don't have to do them perfectly. And find out where is your middle ground of where you're happy. When you figure these things out, you will be able to go into a workplace and be able to tell them that you can do both sides of these things, and let them decide of what they want you to essentially do. Anyway, my name is Adrian, and I do videos around design and development, so if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.